You are listening to Book Clips, a mini podcast in which authors or narrators do readings from novels. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book.
Hi, I'm Siri Caldwell. I'm reading an excerpt from my holiday novella, Mistletoe Mishap, and my partner is helping out because you don't want to hear me try to do different voices. I'm not going to tell you her name, but it starts with a J.
And ends with an Enifer.
In the book, Kendra and Viv's relationship has been in a slump, and they want to do something about it. In the part before we start, they were listening to a radio call-in show where people debated the merits of sleeping apart before marriage. Kendra slammed the front door and let her messenger bag slide off her shoulder and hit the floor. Does abstinence really make the heart grow fonder?
Absence,
Viv corrected, shouting from the kitchen.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Now, abstinence. I'm thinking, would a softball coach promise she was going to improve a player's game by benching her for 6 months?
Not the same thing.
Sure it is. It's a physical skill. How are you supposed to get better at it if you don't practice? Viv dropped the pasta into the water.
I wouldn't call it a physical skill. It's more than that.
Kendra popped a sautéed mushroom in her mouth and blew frantically on her fingers to cool them. Viv made a disapproving sound. Okay, fine. How someone as good at it as Viv was could be so uncomfortable talking about it was beyond her understanding. But if Viv wanted to insist it was all an intellectual and emotional exercise, would a math teacher encourage you to skip class and not do the homework so that next year, when you move to advanced calculus, you'll enjoy it more? Viv grabbed a paper towel and dabbed at her eyes.
Onions.
She was laughing, right? Kendra stepped out of the kitchen to grab a few tissues and was back a moment later, pressing them into Viv's hands. Viv blew her nose.
I dare you to call the radio station and tell them more practice is the answer.
I have a better idea.
I wouldn't expect any less.
We're going to test my idea. Using the scientific method.
The scientific...
You're a scientist. I'm sure you've heard of it.
I have, and I'm pretty sure a sample size of 1 cannot be called using the scientific method.
I haven't even told you my experiment yet.
You don't have to. I know what's coming. I can read your mind.
She really could. But Kendra plowed ahead anyway. The experiment has 2 arms. In the first arm, we try abstinence. We've already done that, so we don't have to repeat it.
Let me guess.
Viv tapped one finger on her chin like she was thinking hard. She never tapped her chin for real, though. The tapping was an act.
Ooh, I've got it. In the second arm, we try the opposite.
Are you making fun of me? Kendra narrowed her eyes. Maybe she could convince Viv she was offended and make her feel guilty. Viv looked unconvinced.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of your idea.
It's a good idea.
I don't know.
Viv turned back to the stove and adjusted the flame under the boiling pasta.
Aren't we already as good as we're going to get? We've had years and years of practice. More's not going to do anything.
Kendra stared at the back of Viv's shoulders. They were slightly rounded, more hunched than they used to be. But she wasn't old, not really. Why would she imply they were too old for this? They still liked each other, right? Kendra took hold of Viv's apron ties and wound them around her fingers, being careful not to pull and undo the bow. It was a way to touch Viv without actually touching her, to be near without running the risk of being pushed away. Soon it would be winter break. Viv would be busy every day in the lab, checking on her racks of culture tubes, monitoring the cells and scary microorganisms inside. They both had to prepare for next semester's classes. But there'd be no classes to teach, no office hours to spend talking with students, no tedious department meetings. They'd have time to be together, time to watch movies on the sofa and decorate a tree and impede each other's efforts to make dinner. Time to do something about their slump. But if Viv didn't want to... Kendra unwound her fingers from Viv's apron ties. It wasn't surprising that Viv would claim she didn't need practice. Viv prided herself on being good at things. And she was good. She had been good at this particular skill right from the start, long before years of practice had made it nearly impossible for her not to be good at it. So perhaps the better approach was to goad her, challenge her, stop appealing to her love of science, and make this about proving herself. Okay, not an experiment then. Kendra's fingers twitched, wanting to play with Viv's apron ties again, but not allowing herself to. Acting pitiful once in a day was more than enough. An idea formed. She expanded her lungs and belted out the line about the partridge in a pear tree. A competition. Viv angled her head without turning her body and kissed the underside of Kendra's jaw, somehow managing to keep her wooden spoon safely over the pan, where it could drip without making a mess, controlled even without looking.
A singing competition?
No, the 12 Days of Christmas. The alternative, inappropriate 12 Days of Christmas, competition style. Kendra gently slid the spoon out of Viv's hand and placed it on the ceramic spoon rest. She brushed her lips over Viv's ear and lowered her voice. Who can make the other person come 12 times first?
12 times sounds a bit excessive,
Viv said in her stern, disapproving professor voice. Kendra put her hands on Viv's hips. Viv didn't squirm away, and the squeezing tension in Kendra's ribcage relaxed. One touch, and she felt lighter. It has to be 12, or it's not the 12 Days of Christmas. And because once or twice wasn't enough, they needed momentum.
12 times, huh?
Viv turned in her arms. Her lips were pursed, but a hint of mischief glimmered in her eyes.
That won't take 12 days.
That's my smart girlfriend. My smart, sexy, willing girlfriend. Kendra's smile widened. Viv was going to say yes. She ran a hand from Viv's hip to her waist to her ribcage. Only one attempt per day allowed.
Well,
Kendra moved higher and lingered on the side of her breast. What do you think? Viv's breath hitched.
I take it we're doing this on the actual 12 days of Christmas. Or do the 12 days start on Christmas Day or end there?
Good question. Were the 12 days even a real thing? She'd always assumed they were a real thing, but that's what you're thinking about right now, logistics?
What else would I be thinking about?
You're pretty good at doing that blank face thing that you're doing right now, where you pretend you're not lying. Kendra moved more purposefully over Viv's breast, watching her carefully to make sure Viv didn't want her to stop. How long do you think you can keep it up? Viv's eyes fluttered closed. Kendra's fingers played over her ribs. I could make you think about something more fun. Viv sighed and gently wiggled out of reach. Yeah, there it was. Moment ended. Kendra sighed too.
I need to watch the stove,
Viv said. Yeah.
So make me think about having your hands on me later.
Yeah? Okay. Yes, they could do this.
Make me think about having your mouth.
Viv cut herself off before she could finish, because, wow, Viv never said things like that.
Or vice versa, I suppose, since I'll be the one winning this competition.
She retrieved her wooden spoon and stirred the pot with a controlled calm that made her look anything but controlled and calm.
You never said when the 12 days are.
You will not be winning this, wait, what? Kendra stammered, struggling to make the mental switch. Days. What's Epiphany? That's the 12th day, right? January...
Yeah, January 6th. So, December 25, 26, 27...
Viv counted on her fingers. Just subtract 25 from 31.
Quiet, I'm counting.
You're a college professor and you're counting on your fingers? Viv ignored her.
28, 29, 30...
You teach a lab science.
So?
Kendra laughed. Subtract 25 from 31 and add 1 because you're including both end dates. And add 6.
31, 1, 2...
Kendra did the math in her head while Viv continued to count on her fingers. Wait a minute, that adds up to...
3, 4, 5, 6...
Viv stared at her hand, which had 3 fingers curled down with the pinky finger and ring finger sticking out.
13.
That's what I get too. Viv uncurled her fingers and started over.
That can't be right. 25, 26, 27...
Maybe we're not supposed to count Christmas Day. Viv stopped counting and made a face.
The 12 days of Christmas don't include Christmas?
Maybe it's the 12 days after Christmas, not of Christmas.
Maybe it's the 12 days before Christmas, like an Advent calendar.
Advent calendars are 24 days.
Are they?
I don't know. Aren't they? Viv gave a helpless shrug.
They start on December 1st, right?
Who knows? Kendra had never had an Advent calendar. She remembered seeing them sometimes at other kids' houses, hanging on their bedroom doors. But did they have 24 pieces of chocolate? 25? No clue. We're pretty hopeless Christians, aren't we?
Speak for yourself. I know what day Epiphany is.
But you don't know what it actually means.
Yeah, but I know the date, and it has to be the 12th day. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Kendra wrapped her arms around Viv's waist and angled her farther from the sizzling food on the stove to keep her safe. I don't want to wait until Christmas. I want to start now.
Grades are due the 26th. We'd be more relaxed if we started after.
If we started now, I'd be more relaxed about doing the grading. Viv gave her a searching look.
You're afraid that if we put it off, we're not going to do it at all, aren't you?
Maybe. Viv leaned in and brushed a kiss on her cheek.
Okay.
Okay?
We can start now.
Kendra pulled her in tight. But Christmas is only 10 days away, so we don't stop at Christmas. We go the full 12 days. Viv dropped her forehead to Kendra's shoulder with an exaggerated sigh.
It's not the 12 days of Christmas if it neither starts nor ends on Christmas. If we start now, we stop at Christmas.
Oh, now Viv was just playing her. 12 days, Kendra said. Viv raised her head.
10.
You're cheating me out of 2 days, and we haven't even started yet? Viv's mouth twitched, like she was trying not to grin.
I don't have to agree to any of this.
But you want to.
Do I?
12 days. Seriously, Kendra was not backing down on this.
If we include today, and we include Christmas Day, that's...
Viv double-checked on her fingers.
11.
Was that supposed to be a compromise? You're welcome to stop at 11, but that means you automatically forfeit.
Not if we change the rules.
We're not changing the rules.
Whoever can make the other person come 11 times first.
Kendra laughed. I don't think so. Viv kissed her on the cheek and wiggled out of her arms to rescue their dinner before it burned.
We could talk about this all night. Or someone could say, ready, set,
go. This is Siri Caldwell, and you've been listening to my holiday novella, Mistletoe Mishap. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Book Clips. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book. If you are interested in showcasing your novel, then check out the show notes for more information.